the one off 46. And I know I think it's different is these first 100 foot on 46 have these nice commercial zip up keys. So what's on 2216, which is what we're going to use today, these are going to be the backups. I want to use 16 stuff today. What's in 16 is basically the air line, no comm line with it. But instead of these, you'll see it just has that kind of loom braided sheathing that goes on it. There's a red line and then there's a blue line. But the connections are all the same. The universal connections are all the same there. So we could actually plug in, I guess, to our SCBAs if we're learning them, but we don't usually word SCBAs under there. But it just gives us a continuous supply of air. And then the orange cable would hook up to the comm system if we were looking to using the comm system, but we don't.
Are we setting up for 4 people today? 2 in the whole, 2 in the backup?
That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll have stuff off of 2246. I'll have those because we only carry 2 of the skate packs off of there.
Backup guys.
Yeah, and then we'll use the ones off 46. We'll have 2 guys suited up in the same PPE, kind of ready to go. And I'm bringing these along. They'll be there. We can plug them into their cart ready to go. So we need to send somebody down because we can run 4. We'll have 2 of these lines down here.
Rich, did you say that we could hook directly to the buddy breather with that?
I believe we can.
Okay.
Never used it that way. I always use SARs, but we'll have to see what that transfer. I think these are the same connections that'll go in that transfer. But actually,
Not a transfill, but buddy breather.
no, we're not going to the buddy breather. I don't believe. We're not going to.
Got it look towards.
We might not. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
It's not going to go in the
You know what?
UAs.
Grab one off there. I want to make sure. It won't go into the. I don't think it fits our EBS.
Plus, grab a SCBA.
You have to have that as well. Let's see. I think it's a little
That's
bit
gotta go
different.
into-
It's actually what our buddy breather.
Well, that's got to go into the ear part.
Yeah.
This is the
So, that one on there might be a little bit.
That's a different.
Let's see if that does. Okay.
Goes?
Yeah, we'll connect them in there, but I guess it won't connect them double.
Well, yeah, that's the wrong.
Well,
That's the
we
wrong.
have
Yeah,
to
we
double.
need the female in. The male, it's going to be down here.
It looks too short though. Because of this on. All right, good to know.
Backside.
So think about, so if you had your SCBA, think about this being your regular bottle in your SCBA. Think about this being, we have 2-stage regulator on our SCBAs. So think about that being your primary stage regulator, right? So it's going to be hooked into an air supply. It's going to be here, that's your air line, that's going to be your air cart. On these connections here, it basically just has that Higby cut. You just turn it until, if you're not dark or something, just turn it till you feel it go in. Plug it in, pull on it, make sure it's not going to come out on you. The other side will go into your rescuer. Again, 16 doesn't have this comm line on it. It goes into his air line. Alright, so he's hooked up on continuous air supply. So when he goes in the hole, he's basically breathing off the air that's on this air cart. Alright, good. So, as you come into this system here, so the regulator that's here, think about it as your second repressurize, I get him on air, and we'll do this. This bottle is not to breathe on, this bottle is to escape on, nothing else. So this bottle has to be on the whole time. So basically, if I would lose pressure from out here, it's going to trigger this regulator here to start sending air to his face piece, and then also it's going to trigger his fire pump. Okay? So it activates though when our air pressure drops. It kind of the same thing where it's getting the higher pressure now coming into it. Remember, that's how ours work. As our pressure drops, you know, it actually gets a higher pressure coming into it, opens up that other regulator, and then that's what triggers the air coming to our regulator. So same thing there, it's just all separated out instead of being together in one compact thing. Throw the face piece on. Now, the other thing with this, you can rig it up however. What I've done is either take a compressor or something. Sometimes these on this one have this nice cable and stuff on it. There's really no rhyme or reason, but what I like to do is have my airline kind of somewhere up in front of me if possible. This thing, I don't know if you take this off, it's not supposed to take it. But if you have this hooked to his comms, which his comms will be right here, I can have this pretty much this hooked on. You've got a hook right here. You just have it clipped on there, whatever you really want to do. There's only really one loop right here to clip these onto. My comms are here, it does. And then with this right here, I can run that through that carabiner if I want to, just to keep it kind of in front of me. You can have it dragging behind you if you want to. It's just, you know, as it's behind you, the connection's up here. You know, depending on what I'm going through, I don't want to take a chance on that connection getting caught on something. Okay? So now he's hooked up, ready to go. And then he's got his regulator, pretty much the same, all the same thing. Make sure your receiver switch is off. So, with the air cart, we have two options here. We can run it straight off bottles, or we can run it off airline coming in. If we run it off the high pressure line coming in here, off the 16 or whatever compressor we got, we still make sure the bottles are here. If something happens with our compressor or our cascade runs out for whatever reason, we don't realize it, we always wear our bottles as a backup. If we like to just use our bottles, not a big deal. We only open one bottle at a time, so if we open two bottles, we'll just do this all the way down, right? So when we open one bottle, and we use one bottle until we get down to a lower pressure, then you'll hear it whistling from here when it gets down to 500 psi. So and that's simply for if you really weren't paying attention. Usually you're paying enough attention that you haven't switched over before then. The other thing is I have two bottles here. I have two spare bottles sitting right next to me all the time. Okay? So I'm operating off this one, so we'll go ahead and turn this one on now. All right. I'll leave this one off again. All right. So like that, this will give you what my incoming pressure is right here. Now down here is going to give you my outgoing pressure. So with this regulator, I have to set the pressure going to my guys on the line. With just one guy, so the rule is always 80 to 100. One or two guys on there, you're fine with 80, but you start finding a decreased amount on, 80 with like 4 guys. If you have 4 guys operating on this, so I tell everybody just run it at 100. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and turn this up. I'm just going to put it in like 40. I'll put it at 30. Go ahead and hook your regulator up. And just so you can tell, so you see that like, okay, breathing isn't the same. So you can take a breath in. Okay. So breathing seems a little restricted right then and there. All right. And you'll notice because guys will tell you that. So now this one, it seems like it gets up to 80 and then it jumps straight to like 110, like the gauges. It's a good gauge. Breathing normal now? Okay. But you'll know, so 100 is easy to remember. I thought I had put it on here, and at one point I did. I guess somebody took it off again. I know it says it on 16's air cart though. 16's air cart's identical to this one. So if you can remember 100, put it at 100 all the time. It's not too much for him, it's plenty. So 100, and if you run 4 guys off here, 100 PSI is fine. Okay? So as he's going, he's fine. This is his bottle, open up his bottle now. Alright, so before he goes in the hole, I make sure his bottle's open. So he's hooked up on all his rigging, he's on air. So we're gonna do a double check. This one also has your analog gauge on there, so he can monitor his own air. Plus, we're monitoring out here, that everything's good out here. So, he's ready to go. I can send him in the hole as long as all the other readings hooked up. I do a check. I'm like, hey, rescue one, you breathing good? Okay. Check his air pressure. We document on the sheet what that air pressure is. I'm like, okay, incoming pressure is 4,500. I would document that rescuers have 100 pounds of air coming into them. We'll be able to go in the hole and go in the hole. All right. So, if anything should happen, so I'm going to start packing air supply. His bottom should take over as he breathes that down. All right. So now, all right. So once that happens, down in the bottom, you should be like, hey, my heart alert's going off. So as soon as you let the heart alert's going off, it's not like our SCBAs where we're at 37% and we've got a little while to get out. Depending on who you are, maybe you have 10 minutes on that thing. It just depends on who you are and if you keep your head about you. But that means you obviously lost incoming air. So it means it's either an issue up top or it's an issue with your line somewhere at the bottom. So the first thing you do is call ops and they'll say, hey, my heart alert's going off, what's going on? He's calling air, if he's not right next to him, and go, hey, what's going on? You still good? So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at my bottle pressures. Immediately, I'm going to turn on my other bottle and see if that fixes it. Checking my pressure, make sure I still got pressure, if it's still showing pressure. You know, if that doesn't solve the problem, or if it was the incoming line coming into it, first thing I'm going to do is still turn on the bottle and make sure, see if that solves the problem, because maybe there's an issue back here at the trunk or gassing it or something. Very rare that that's going to happen. So, and then we start trying to work the problem, but if I can't fix that problem or figure out what it is, about 30 seconds or so, my guys are coming out. That's just it. Now, your choice, whether you have the patient with you and you just drag it in that so long and bringing him out and it's not doing it properly, or should do something just to door fix him and get him up out of there so you can get out quick, or do we have to leave him to get us out? But obviously, as we're going along, I'm also going to check my line. Okay, my line, it's really hard to keep these lines up, but it is possible. You probably know that because it can probably stop your movement on you. But it's possible it got twisted, kicked up somehow. So again, I check my line as I'm going back through. If I find the problem, I'm like, hey, we're good to go. But the important thing is, fire alert's going off, immediate contact. We can't fix it in about 30 seconds to a minute. Out you come until we get it figured out. Because you could be, it actually go in 300 feet, and depending on what you were doing in there, if I just walked in, great. If I had to crawl around through stuff, that's the other thing, you know, when you say patient contact, command should know, or ops should know, all right, it took them 15 minutes to get to that patient from here. So that means it's going to take them 15 minutes to do that, unless he's really stupid. So you might have a problem. All right, everybody understand all that? So then as one bottle goes down, we start whistling at 500. I simply turn my other bottle on, shut this bottle off. Again, I have 2 bottles here, 2 bottles outside all the time. I'm just doing bottles. And even if I'm running the air cutter, I still have spare SCBA bottles running behind me. All right, I mean, if I'm running the gasoline, I still have 2 SCBA bottles here. All I have to do is undo it, leave that line off, shut my bottle off, delete the line, undo it, and then change this bottle out. And then I'm ready to go again. So we keep doing that all day long. You know, and then obviously we have a runner or somebody that's going back for the bottles, so give me fresh bottles. All right? Everybody good on the air cart? All right. You don't stop reading, I'll shut it down.
Rich, you said you run tools off that too?
No, not this one. One on 2246, that's a saw. Sports and the main range. But you can take our quick changes adapters off of that one, put on this air cord, whatever. You just have to put the adapter on there. All right, everybody good with that? Okay. So two of those. The other skate packs are the exact same thing. Miles are just a little bit lesser capacity than what these are. They're yellow, just older stuff that's on 2246. All right, everybody good? All right, you can drop that. Go away there. I want to go over a little. Is there anybody here that's never used a halfback? Besides you guys that haven't been in there. Okay, I'm not really going to go through. Does anybody feel like they need to review the halfback as far as putting it on? It's very self-explanatory. But the one thing I want to make sure of is that, well, yes, we have colors on there, but their colors are negligible. You want to call them black, pewter, these silver, these gold. It just kind of depends on what you want to do with that. But the big thing is, the other day, they lifted them up, and this one's a little bit different, but on the one on 16, we have a carry handle that's on the back right here, that you'll see. And the mannequin was in there, but they hooked up to the carry handle. Well, that ain't gonna work. It ain't made to lift a load like that, okay? So on a halfback, your lifting points, when this is all connected together, these two front triangular buckles, these are your lifting points. All right? And on 2216, we have two options. You have that blue spreader bar that you can hook on there, and that spreader bar can give you two different options with different points to attach to or whatever. And then we have a longer strap that just has two buckle connections and then has a ring connection on there. Sometimes in a confined space, the spreader bar will make that patient do this a little bit more because it's shorter, and then that longer strap will make them be more vertical. So sometimes that's a better go-to when you're doing that. This trunk up here, the halfbacks have nothing with them. You have to make up what you want to hook to. Goofy as hell, but you have to run webbing or something through there. It never came with any straps. It never came with anything. I've been asking for 20 years. I don't think I'm going to get them. So anyway. Huh? I don't know.
You're going to harness and halfback on the patient or just a halfback?
If I'm just lifting them up out of a hole, I'm just going to have the halfback will work as a harness, so I can use that as a harness even in a high angle kneel. But we, depending on what's going on, I mean, if I'm getting them out of confined space, it's usually not a high angle deal unless for some reason they're way down some 100-foot shaft or something like that. We're not having to worry about it. The thing is that this provides some type of immobilization if you need immobilization. If you don't need immobilization, you can just put them in a regular harness and lift them up out of there if you want to, especially if they're conscious. If they're unconscious or whatever, again, it keeps their head from doing this. We don't want their head kind of falling and bobbing everywhere, leaning over, and then it cut off the airway or whatever. So,
Yeah, depending on their condition, if you have to drag them horizontally in the pipe or whatever, keep them protected versus just regular harness.
So, real quick, I do want to go over the gates here real quick, just because it's the newest piece of equipment. Does everybody here know how to package somebody in the skid? Because in essence of time, I'm probably not going to get into the skid. Unless that's what you decide you want to use down there.
When would a sked be preferred over this?
You know, the cool thing about the gates over the halfback too is you see there's multiple carry points. So if I had to move somebody a long distance, or I wanted to perhaps, be on a smoother surface and you can drag them in the skid, then the skid might be your go-to.
You'll see
really
today,
perfect.
like in the vault, there's going to be several obstacles in the way. So a sked, you're going to end up lifting this guy over. It's not how you're just dragging him along this time. This may be the best option. And then depending on your space, obviously you have to unroll the sked, you have to prep the sked, and you have the space to do it. So this is a lot smaller.
So the skid, or the gates, is a system that is pretty much operates like a halfback, but has a lot of other cool features to it. Comes with a bridle here, I'll show you in a minute. Comes with a third piece, which is what's going to make it really cool. That goes on the legs. And what this will do is, with these other pieces of equipment, so especially extrication time, getting them up out of there, then we start dealing with suspension trauma, right? So, what this will do, and this is for anything, not necessarily just confined space. You can use this in place of the Stokes, a sked if you wanted to, depending on what's going on with the patient. But it will allow us to put that patient in a full sitting position if need be, and totally reduce suspension trauma wherever we want to go. Or we can position them around things. There's all kinds of different things. It gets used more out west with a lot of turbine rescues. They've even developed a spreader bar for it just because of turbine rescues, has a little swivel on it and all that. We don't have any wind turbines around here. But you can see if you put it next to the halfback, it looks pretty close to the halfback. When I open it up, it's just more color-coded. Still provides you have a rigid back for C-spinal mobilization. So up here for your head immobilizer is probably more like the KED, kind of what we're used to or have been used to. So starting up here with the head immobilizer, obviously you have your immobilizer just like the KED that comes up. You have two pads. You can use them if you would need a pad underneath their head, say a kid or somebody like that, a small occiput, or you can put the pads, and they will actually go around and Velcro to this if need be. They can actually come through this hole down here and Velcro onto here. There's just all kinds of things you can do with it so it stays secure to this if you wanted to. So again, somebody with a small head, you need to take up that area between the immobilizer and their head. You can use the pads that way. So no real rule on that, but just comes with a couple of pads for you to use. Comes with two types of straps. These we all know, it's what we used with the orange blocks for years. They're just yellow. Velcro straps there. Or it gives you an option of these red, basically pieces of Velcro. They took a piece of Velcro, and this piece of Velcro now costs probably $100 because it's made for rescue. But basically you can put it under the chin, strap it, and then one over the head. Just options for whatever you want to do. The other thing is that this thing, you can undo this whole thing and take this whole sleeve off of here, throw it in the extractor, wash it, put it back on. If they make a poo-poo or they bleed on it or whatever happens, you can take this whole thing off. It's pretty much out of impervious material. All right. So it's a solid metal back plate that goes all the way through there. You have a lifting ring at the top. This is a carry. Any place you see these with the tubing over them, those are just carry handles, they're not lifting points. Okay. And there are multiple ones on this. You have one at the top. And you have two on each side, kind of one up at the shoulders, one down here at the sides, all right? So working down, you have two shoulder straps, a red and a black shoulder strap. Come down, you have a belly strap right here. And then you have your leg straps, which are blue, all right? There is also, where did it go? There it is. So in this is called a handcuff strap or a hand immobilizing strap, whatever you want to do. Basically, this is just if you want to put their hands in there and handcuff them. It has just two small clips on there, and then you'll see there's two just small little triangles on here, attachment points, and that's for that. So you can put their hands in there. You just pull the ends, pull it tight together, and get their hands together if you don't want their arms just hanging down. It's optional if you want to use this or not use it, whatever you want to do. Okay? So, getting somebody in there, and I'll let a couple other guys do that. So I'll throw a base there, and a couple guys will come down and put this thing up. So the first thing you want to do is get your belly band on him, and that guy's touching where the position of that. So get this right belly band on first. And then that kind of pulls. There you go. And again, everything you do tight-wise, we want 2 fingers underneath. You don't want it so tight you can't get your fingers underneath. So remember 2 fingers underneath. All right. So now, with these, you don't want that. I would do this under, so that's why his arms out. Don't put his arms out, so that it catches underneath his arms. So red to red. And then black to black. Obviously, one through each side, blue and blue on each side.
Like that.
want to, so you can do a tagline, you can do that. So we've got that on there. So now we can use it just like this if we want to come straight up and out if we want to. If we're doing an extended extrication and we want to position him, this works a lot better on a person than it does on a mannequin. But what comes with is a sling that goes on the legs. So remember, put this underneath right about their knees. Where it's supposed to be at. Again, it works better on a person. If you have these foot links right here, and you can put one into each. Works better on a person than a mannequin. And then you step up, that's a little nice and even. Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly tight on it, as long as it holds it. And we can adjust these legs a little bit. Alright, so then, his hands will go, yeah, for both of them here. So just go up, there we go from there. There we go. So just hold this nice piece right here to hold. Oh, we have to attach it first. Okay, that's right. Alright, so then you have your lifting bridle. So again, you can use this in place of the Stokes, you can use it in place of the Sked. Just depends on what your situation is. You want to move this guy along a high line in this, whatever you want to do. And again, you don't have to have this bottom piece. You want to use it like a halfback, which is straight up and out of a hole, you can. Alright, so, and on this, these are just basically quick foot gears. They're not auto locking gates or anything like that, they're still rated. So that's going to attach to the lifting ring at the top.
They don't lock at all.
No, that's one. So, yep, right to the yellow there. Now, the orange one will come up to the top. It's longer. It's just a safety strap is all it is. That one is on a carabiner, locking meter. And so is our foot straps on an auto locking meter. He's a tough guy. Up, turn. Alright, so now with this is where we can do all our positioning with it. So as we lift this bridle up, so it's lifted up in midair, I'm going to do it, but it works for sure at a high point. As we do a lot of adjusting on these, as we adjust this strap down, adjust his chest down, and then a couple guys kind of hold him up or whatever just for a second. So his feet are straight right now. So what we can end up doing is, depending on how he's in, we can have him almost hold this all the way up, almost to a sitting position. Works a lot better on the person than the mannequin. The mannequin don't always cooperate, but you get the idea. Person's legs are going to dangle down and put him in more of a sitting position. This will just be sliding right down.
Vertical or horizontal?
So this could be for anything. So if I'm using a straight vertical on a pole, I probably want to use this leg strap right here.
Okay.
But if I'm bringing him up, so a horizontal, if you're talking about just hauling him this way,
No, I'm talking about him being horizontal up or vertical up.
it's kind of whatever you decide you want. So, you know, and so if you have somebody that's unconscious, you know, whatever, we always take the Stokes instead, we always have an elevator like this anyway. This just does that for you. So if they're sitting up, you know, is there always a need that we have to have them laying down? You know, if they're sitting up, does that allow you to manage the airway better? Especially for conscious, it's nicer for them and more comfortable for them. In kind of a sitting position, so laying out flat, wondering what the hell's going on, we're able to sit up. But, and I know, there's not really a lot of situations where it's going to take us 30 minutes to get somebody up and out of. Once we have them hooked up, probably most everything we have around here, we're probably looking at a few minutes to get them up and out.
If you're doing a straight vertical, all you need to do is the top pin, right? You don't need, you can bypass the whole bridle, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you do it straight on and that's what you do. You have to have the right on. pack and hook onto there, make sure your safety's on there, lift it like you guys use this today. You don't need this bridle, you can just straight up and out of the hook. If I was,
I'm a little confused just on the position. So is it better to have them positioned like this on a vertical lift?
if I'm gonna do a long extrication, and that's the beauty of this is a long extrication. Like I said, it came into play more out west, but it's just a nice thing to have. So if I have somebody if I have them in the Stokes or I have them in the skid, you know, then I'm kind of not worried about suspension trauma, but it's a little bit bigger. This thing's also a crap ton lighter than carrying around a Stokes. Well, skid, a little bit light too as well. But getting them from a position up high to a position low as opposed to going down and picking them up. But it just gives you more options. It gives you the ability to position them, you know, now let's say it's like, okay, we gotta work through all these trees or we gotta work through this, that, and the other. So as I keep them from hanging in that harness and that suspension trauma going on, as I adjust that up and bring their legs up, boom, I just reduced all that suspension trauma that's gonna happen. And now it's not gonna take us later this week, not a whole, or up out of this place, but it's that possibility. So basically, it takes this thing and gives you a lot more options to do so. So you can position them however you want to. You can even, you know, as you're lifting them up, if you needed to, you have them in a sitting position, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta work around this tree or whatever it is you're working up on. You can adjust them up, and either one of two things. Either though you have to use a little bit of root strength to loosen that, or we carry the Aztec. I always keep the Aztec with me all the time. I try to use the Aztec, hook it up anywhere I need to hold them up, release what I'm doing, and use the Aztec. Always use the Aztec. You can make kind of the same thing, just using an Aztec and some webbing and stuff like that. But it just gives you options, is all it is. So you don't have to have them laying flat out or flat up. You can have them in a semi-reclined position. You can have them in a full sitting position. So play with it sometimes. Again, it works better if you put a person in there. So go up to lunch or whatever, right line up, just kind of have them up in the air a little bit. You know, I do it the vortex up the whole system on or whatever. Then put a guy in there, let him come off the ground and try and mess with a different position. You can see how as you adjust one of these straps, what it allows you to do. They can be sitting almost straight upright, they can be sitting kind of reclined back, they can be sitting down. So it's kind of whatever you want to do. Just have our nose holes on there. For me, it's going to be my go-to if I need to be. If I'm carrying, and it does have the carry straps, so to drag and carry with. However, if I'm carrying to do, you know, a mile out of the woods or something, we can't get the butt lifting or we're carrying, I might go to a sked or something like that, or a Stokes where I'm carrying somebody instead of dragging. You can carry with this, but you can take that leg strap I found, you put it on the legs, and you can hook it up into the top. If you need to kind of get the legs up, but if you're just carrying somebody, your legs will just like. All right, everybody good with that? So here's what you want today. All right. So as soon as we get that tag away, we'll talk about what we're going to do here. We'll head down there at 9:30. And we'll actually use that command here to make it nice and easy on it. Not as hard as that is to read this. We're going to talk about it.
Okay, have the stand.
All right.
And pick one if you want it.
So first off, we'll get show you what needs to go in my truck and get stuff back on the squad. These things will go back in my truck, half back, over the back on 46.
Is the mannequin going?
Yeah, he'll go in my truck. We'll use him as a mannequin. So when we get down there, everybody knows how to get to the water plant. So go in the main entrance, which has the big red fire department Knox box cabinet, if you will, sitting right there. I'll be the first one in. If you're not with me, just tell him, hey, I'm with the fire department. He can see through the camera. I'd say big red truck. We'll figure it out. When you go through the gate, so we're at the gate, we're at that main building. So the main building's on your right, on your left as you're going in. So we're going to go straight behind you. See this little road, little paved road that goes behind the building. We're going to go behind the building. You'll see me parked there. We're probably going about 50, 100 feet or whatever, and that's it. So we're gonna park, I'll park up against, off to the grass. We'll park 16, I'll kind of show you where it's spot, I'll show you where the vault is. So 16 will be parked kind of off the road a little bit. We want to leave room for them to be able to move their vehicles down that road should they need to. But then on the other side of that road, there's a larger gravel area, and both the trucks, so 34, 54, and whatever else we're bringing should be able to fit in there just fine. If we find that the ambulance doesn't want to fit in there as well, I think it'll be fine. We can park in one of the parking spaces that's right there by the end of that road that we're going up. You'll see parking spaces next to the building. We can kind of back in there if easy. I'll kind of show you. Then we'll get everything set up and go from there. There's cooler water in my truck, so I know it's cool out this morning, but especially if you're going to do a rescue, make sure you're hydrated. Get some water in you. They will allow us to use their bathrooms. We just have to buzz through the door. You know, they'll let us in to use the bathrooms if need be. Let's see, whatever else. That's pretty much about it. So we'll get everything loaded up. We'll get down there. We'll kind of see what we're looking at. We'll start rigging everything up. Who wants to run this?